In this video, I'm going to show you really quick how to dry brine your steaks using a Tomahawk Ribeye. Let's get into it. There's two different forms in which you can brine your meat, and that is a wet brine or a dry brine. I'm excited for two reasons. Number one, because I get to teach some of you who may not know how to dry brine a steak. Number two, if you look right in front of me, we have a pretty large Tomahawk Ribeye. So let me bring them in closer and show you what we're doing here. All right, so a Tomahawk is mainly for looks. You have this really long bone, and what you have right here is a ribeye. We have ourselves a nice portion of kosher salt, and what we're going to do is we are going to generously put that kosher salt on the steak. You can be really generous. So as the steak sits in the fridge overnight, which is where we'll be putting the steak starts to sweat, and some of that moisture will draw out of the steak. And what will happen is, as it sweats out, those juices will mix with the salt, and through reverse osmosis, those juices will go back into the steak, bringing that saltiness back in with it, and you'll have that salty, beautiful taste all the way through the steak. We're going to make sure to season the sides as well. One thing that you'll see is that the salt will not absorb well into these fat areas here. The reason is because this salt will not go through the same process of reabsorbing back into the fat, so it'll remain on the surface. So what we really want to focus on is salting these meat areas. As you leave this dry brining in the refrigerator, you don't want the bottom of the steak to be sitting on a flat surface. We are going to take a wire rack, and then we are going to put this in the fridge overnight. Right now, it's about 3 a.m. I'm doing this video kind of late here, but we're going to put this in the fridge, and tomorrow we're going to take this out and do a report on it, and then we're going to season it up and get it on the grill. So our dry brining is complete, and the salt has absorbed deeply into the steak, and I'm excited about the flavors that are going to come from this ribeye here. So we're going to go outside and we're going to get this on the grill. The Blackstone is ready. There's a light smoke coming off the surface, so we're just going to oil this down. Now, when we first put this ribeye down, we're going to make sure that we flip it about once every 30 seconds. Once we get that going, we're going to flip it about once every minute, making sure to constantly check the temperature. One of your biggest friends in the kitchen is going to be a meat thermometer. This one right here has been awesome for us. You just flick it right open and it starts showing you the temperature. Works really fast. I'll leave a link in the description for the one we use. All right, we're going to make sure to get these edges as well. So we're going to do the same thing, let them have some time on the side, and get that cook evenly across the sides as well. As we're cooking on the Blackstone, we want to make sure to get an even cook along that bone. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use our culinary torch. I will leave a link in the description to the one we use. This one becomes extremely useful when you're wanting to toast some cheese on a dish or do some searing on a steak. So we're going to do that with this steak right here. All right, the steak is done, and so we're going to get this on some tin foil, put some butter and rosemary on it, wrap it up, and we'll prepare it inside. Rising, he justified, believe forever. One day he's coming. All right, it's wrapped up in this. We're going to let it steam inside of there, melt that butter with the rosemary, and add those flavors. It's going to help continue to cook it evenly, and so I'm excited to cut into this. All right, we're going to open it up and see that butter melted with the rosemary. That looks absolutely beautiful. Let's get this out of the aluminum foil and get it cut up. We're going to pour these juices right over the steak. All right, a couple things about that steak. If there was one thing that I would change, it's that I wouldn't have added the salt right before the cook. The dry brine did a perfect job of adding the saltiness and flavor all the way through the meat. It wasn't necessary to add any more salt. Black pepper and garlic, butter and rosemary were all perfect to add such a great taste. It's the biggest steak I've ever cooked, especially with that big giant bone. It was a great cook. It was very tender, and I'm really excited for how it turned out. My family loved it. It was a flavorful steak. So if you are ever thinking about doing dry brine, I highly recommend it. It works great with chicken, pork, and steak, especially chicken. If you really want flavorful chicken legs, bone-in chicken, chicken thighs, chicken breasts, salt it, let it sit in the fridge overnight or at least for an hour and a half to get that flavor all the way through. I'll leave a link below to all of the products that my small business sells and anything that I use in this video to help you cook great things at home too. If you have any ideas for the next videos that you'd like us to do, leave it in the comments. We love making sure that we're creating content that you want to see. Thank you so much for watching our video. See you next time.